Hello YouTube, this is Black Thought, where I ramble podcast style about a Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia topic. Gameplay takes a back seat, feel free to tab out while I screw around in-game. Today we are talking about the content for the month of November in Global Opera Omnia. I'm going to be doing an overview with my perspective of having played this period in the Japanese version, highlighting some things I think are important and outlining my pull plans. Before I continue, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, share it around, and drop a comment about your plans for the month. Roughly 30% of my viewers on average are subscribed who watch my videos. Trying to up that. The road to 100,000 is still going strong. I'll be replying and interacting to everything, so don't hesitate to ask questions. Something specific I wanted to highlight is, well, one, I'm going to be making sure to add timestamps to this video for the different events that I'm going to cover. And this is also the first month that I've caught up to my JP retros. So I'm going to be doing this semi-blind. I mean, I listened to the retro for this month. I think it was maybe like a couple months ago, but I don't remember a single thing I said. So I'm gonna be plugging that at the end, and it'll be fun to listen to it because I have no idea what my opinion of things was back then, and we're gonna see how those impressions changed. It's good to hold yourself accountable and get yourself on record showing things because most people are really bad at predicting the future. Let's see how close I was and see how my opinions have changed over time. Lufenia has started. Well, it's about to start at least. And it's going to be a fun time. It's not going to be the savior of the game that some people think it is. If you've been bored during Chaos, I don't know how much it'll help. Maybe it'll be placebo. I don't know. I'll be referencing when I talk about fights briefly. Rem has made a Lufenia Records page called lufenia.dissidia.dev, and I'll be referencing it. Please go there. Great stuff. Always support Rem. Sub to his Patreon, all that good stuff. Alright, starting off. Quality of life and game changes. What changed? GL pretty much got everything JP has, and GL already has a bit more, like hitting auto before the battle. Ugh. Can't believe JP still doesn't have that. HP percentages, total damage done, artifact, quality of life. If you don't understand artifacts quite well, check out my video. I did a little guide and walkthrough of that. What hasn't changed? This game is still a buggy mess. They shipped in a hilarious amount of bugs, like Emperor not getting broken. Story order for arts is kind of screwy when you're fusing. Alpha Node's EX doesn't HP dump twice. Bunch of other weird things that have not been fixed at the time of this recording. So this is how it feels to play JP. Something that was broken. Alright, now we're going to get into content without any further ado. First off, I need to give a special shout to Abyss and Vivi. Excuse me. Vivi's LD. Wow, that was a shocker. Global first LDs without LD boards. Great idea. I gave my initial thoughts on Vivi in a video that I reacted to after my very serious tier list. So please watch them both. Gonna plug that right quick. I laid out some of the Lufenia he's gonna be real good in, such as Zonde and Boss Rush 1, which both need dark damage. And the only fight that's going to counter him is Kieran's Lost Chapter, which happens to absorb both fire and dark, so whatever. I did the Abyss, and I'll upload it eventually. It may or may not come before or after this video, so stay tuned. Vivi with Shantoto is very fun, and I'm optimistic about Vivi's future. He's going to be a powerhouse. Check my polls out too, I guess. Anywho, now to get on to the actual content moving forward that was in JP that I can give my perspective on. We have the Act 2 finale, Part 2, Raid, and the first Lufenia fight. Warrior of Light is getting his LD, BT, and rework. His LD gives him a shield that also buffs party attack and brave. I think I-Brave and defense up. That defense up is crucial because, well, alongside the I-Brave, he's going to have bigger shield numbers, and the party defense up means that they're going to take less damage on their shields. His rework is mainly giving him inherent overflow on his skill, so he is less likely to cap bravery just because it can overflow more. I think he also gets some more skill 2s, just so we can spam that a bit more. He leans less on his HP plus, and the HP plus does get a brave hit, which is great, I guess, even though he's going to be doing ones anyways. His burst is solid. It gives him the party a massive brave regen based on their current shield value, and he has like 150% overflow or something crazy. So you basically battery to cap after every turn. It's comparable to Arden's effect in that it's a party battery effect, but Warrior Light sacrifices some damage within the burst phase to provide the party more battery outside of it. So that's another LD use is also pretty good. Thancred gets a rework. It's good for Chaos. Same for Laguna. I'm not saying they both can't be used in Lufenia fights, but these reworks they didn't prime them quite well for the hardest content, the new difficulty tier. So purple them, knowing that they're not going to be too. I mean, definitely this happened with an LD in mind, but they're not the stars here. They're just kind of cleaning up the backlog. As for the Lufenia fight, it's the first one. If you're not familiar with Lufenia, there is an orb that persists, and if you don't meet its conditions, then you just get wiped. This specific Lufenia, we were fighting against, I won't talk about the boss, but it's pretty cool. The aura cycles between various effects, and the orb pauses when the boss is below 25% Embrave. So you can freeze it out. Warrior Light makes this a joke, obviously, because the boss can't get above 25% Embrave if they're not doing brave damage to you, because Warrior Light shields are always up, so he's going to make it a joke. You can also let it get 0 turns. There's a bunch of different strategies for it. The recast does, or not the recast, the orb, if it goes off to 0, it does dispel your party, so Bosch can't eat it. I plan to run Warrior Light, Aphmau, and Quistis for overflow and consecutive turns and fat shields. I think it'll be fun. I'm going to keep dragging Quistis' corpse as long as I can go, really. As for the challenge, you're just fighting Garland and some mannequins. That's pretty much a joke. Warrior Light can just derp through it with his LD, probably even without his LD, honestly, because he's strong enough at that point. I'll be running a Warrior Light, Agrius, who will be fully character warrior. Oh, that's right. Agrius and Sync and Thancred and Laguna are getting character boards. I'll be character boarding Agrius, and I'll probably run a 0 to 3 Thancred because I have his EX, but I'm not going to break it any further. Yeah, and then as for my polls for that event, I'm going to ticket Warrior Light's LD. I'm going to try and grab Sync's EX, considering she is synergy for the Guy event, and I don't plan on pulling Guy, but I do plan on doing the challenge. Just thinking way forward here, and I plan on running not Caius. I don't plan on pulling Caius either. But that's for a later topic. Ramza, Orin, and Sync on that challenge quest. So I'm just thinking forward, trying to get Sync's LD. Now, if I do get it before I get Warrior Light's LD, I'm going to jump back over to the other banner and try and grab Laguna's EX just for collection purposes. And yeah, welcome to Lufenia. Hope you have a good time. Last note on Lufenia I'll save that for later. Yeah, that's for later. Next we have 8's Lost Chapter. 8 gets his LD and character boards. King also gets his character boards. 8's LD lets him get a taunt, and it adds a second counter. So it lets him basically take up even more time in your fights. Jokes aside, I mean, well, actually, no. That wasn't a joke. He does extend fights significantly. All counter characters do. But he's a very solid character. He's got 1 billion brave hits. That's one of the... If I can get my video out on the comparisons between the counter units before it starts popping off. Hopefully I do. I don't know. It depends on my schedule. 8 boasts the highest hit count of all the counter characters. That is his biggest distinction. I think his LD counter is like 8 hits, and is it 8 hits? It might be more, and it's I think it's splash damage, and then his EX counter is just 8 hits because he's 8. Ha ha ha. No other counter character does as many brave hits as he does, which means 8 can scale incredibly well with brave damage up and enchants and stuff like that. That is his key distinction. He is the most damage-oriented counter unit out there. Downside is he's a glass cannon, because if there are fights that do direct hit on the big attacks, then he does have last stand with his LD now, and he has buff extension, so he has no upkeep issues. He doesn't need a buff extender anymore. But It's either he's really good when he works, or he might get kind of screwed if there's a bunch of guaranteed hit. That's what I think the balance is, and I think that's a good balance because he will trivialize as soon as in JP, as soon as something becomes dodgeable completely the way through, like X-Death Lost Chapter, for example, 8 just breaks the fight. It's actually pretty funny. So just keep that in mind. The Lufenia requires you to counter. If you don't counter, you can actually eat the orb. This orb does not dispel the party. So if you have like Warrior Light or Bosch or something, or Porum, I guess, you can eat the recast and not get whacked. It's not preferable, but it is possible. 8 can solo Lufenia. It's great for reviews. I know Vane Novus is going to do it. Shout out to Vane. Great guy. That's nothing really remarkable about that fight. Probably one of the most simple Lufenia fights, provided you can eat the recast and or just dodge it. I mean, like Shadow or Galuf or Cater will also similarly, or Gau, or Beatrix. That's right, Beatrix can tank it too. So there you go. I guess 9 can tank it as well because it doesn't dispel. Yeah, 9 should be able to eat the recast, so that's something as well. People get pretty creative on that. I'll be glad to see it. Let's see. Challenge. Warrior Light again is going to make it a joke. So is 8. I'm going to use a Warrior Light, Quistis, and 35 CP King, just because that'll probably be enough battery to just meme through it. I'm not going to pull. I don't like 8's gameplay in particular. Like you heard me earlier, I was complaining about how long he makes fights take, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I also just don't really have an affinity towards counter characters in general. I just wasn't feeling him when I used him. So, and the fact that he was so selfish on top of being a counter character made me not really interested in bringing him to the party as mainly a damage dealer. So, yeah, womp. Great character, but I'm not gonna go for him this time. GL is my new game plus, and I'm trying to mix it up. But low turn counts and fast bosses and big hits that can be dodged, yeah, and also stuff like boss rush. 8 is a monster, so don't sleep. He's gonna get passed on, unfortunately, because he's the guaranteed hits thing is gonna get blown out of proportion. But it is blown out. I haven't done enough research to see how often it does happen, but it is way less than people are gonna act like it is. So it is what it is. Next we have more Type 0, Kurasame's Event. Good character. He's got HP damage up with Ice Imperil. It's all stacked in his debuff, and the stacks go up, and you do more HP damage. I think he maxes out at about 30% HP damage at 5 stacks. He's got solid damage and solid auras. He's not amazing at both, but he brings both of them, which is good. Edgar's getting boards as well. Cypher already had his. Edgar's not too remarkable at this point. It doesn't look like he's getting the LD. It looks like Cypher is, because Edgar's not getting a rework, so... Talking JP's Lost Chapter. My opinion on Kurasame is that I think he's a little bit too overhyped. He was HP damage up is good, but Kurasame's damage in particular isn't too great, so you really need a strong damage dealer beside him. He's more of an enabler than a primary damage dealer. Really relies on his debuff, and it cleanse and debuff immunity and imperial immunity pretty much makes him useless. It's a little sad to see, and as soon as he's outside of synergy, you're gonna see his brave hits really aren't doing that much. It's a little sad to watch. But like I said, another enabler. He can just drop his debuff and then get swapped out, and then have another person take advantage of it, which is very, very nice. The Lufenia, it is an ice counter. If you hit the boss with ice, the counter will just straight up freeze. The countdown will kill you. If it gets to 0, it will dispel. Does it ignore last stand yet? I'm not sure that it ignores last stand. Although if you're buff, so if you have a last stand unit, I think it goes around it. No, it doesn't. Okay, so I guess you can last stand it, but that's not preferred because they buff themselves up afterwards. You really don't want to eat the counter. Really, that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. But I guess people will figure out creative ways around it. Enjoy it while it lasts, because they start ignoring last stand later on anyways. I guess Onion Knight, Cater is good at it. I think 8 can dodge a lot of their nonsense. A lot of their stuff is dodgeable. Yeah, it's just People will figure it out. Not too tricky. And Realm too. That's right. Let's see. Pulls. I'm reluctantly pulling Kurasame to enable some HP damage up memes and try and resurrect my cam runs for a second time because I'm a better player now. But I don't know if I'm going to use him that often. We'll see how I feel about him second time around. I really do feel like he's slightly overhyped, but it is what it is. Moving on. Ultimate Bahamut. Kuja is getting a rework. Oh, buddy. And his rework is pretty much just his skill 1. It gets Splash, and it drops a Holy Imperil with, I think, an additional speed down debuff. The big thing about Kuja, though, is his LD, which gives him a party HP enchant. Party Aura Holy Enchant. Jesus, that was a mouthful. This is significant. Kuja became an enchanter out of nowhere for no reason. And it's appropriate for this fight because it requires holy damage to satiate the orb. Kuja becomes a monster. His armor is party based, and he's more of a third slot enabler now rather than a primary damage dealer, but he can really fulfill both roles. Kuja is very flexible in that regard, and I enjoy it. He is my favorite villain. I'm very happy that they did what they did for him. He's also the best summon board farmer until like Tifa, who just released. If you get Kuja's LD, please get his Lufenia armor, and your friends will appreciate it. What else? The Lufenia, it is Ultimate Bahamut. It's wholly weak, and it's ranged and physical resistant, range and melee. Excuse me. It's a tough fight without Kuja. Now this is where I think one of Realm's weaknesses is going to come through, because she's only got 8 shots of Sketch Summon Alexander Holy Attack, and this orb is up way too frequently for you to manage it. And the orb does in fact dispel you if it goes off. As it is dodgeable, I believe. Don't quote me. It is dodgeable. I think you can silence it, maybe, but again, you don't want the recast going off. But this fight can be cheesed. For example, like with Jack, there's the infamous Jack cheese. You can put Jack on auto, and since Bahamut initiates a sap when the ads are up, I believe, you can just keep re-breaking him with Jack infinitely while Kuja friend is out there holy enchanting Jack. It's interesting to see. Not my type of thing. I mean, if you pulled Jack so you could skip Kuja, I mean, congrats, you're a galaxy brain. You're missing out on a good LD character and a great farmer and a good party enchanter and a whole plethora of other things for some weird reason. More power to you. But otherwise, without Kuja, this fight's pretty tricky. There's going to be a lot of wow. This Lufenia is a joke. Use Kuja, LD, and Kuja friend. There are some creative runs of Paladin Cecil enchanting and RCLA HP silencing and Vaughn abusing his skill too. I'm curious to see what some global folks pull off, because I'll be using Kuja and laughing all the way to the bank. Challenge is a joke. Who gets boards here? Papa Limo. Lulu's on the banner, but she already has boards. Garnett already has boards. Porum. Let's see. Kuja, Lulu, Garnett, Porum, Papa Limo. Who am I forgetting? Rydia. That's right, Rydia. Rydia already had boards though, so really it's just Papa Limo getting boards here. I'm just gonna run Garnett, Porum, Kuja on the challenge and stomp it, because it's not really he'll make it a joke. So just be aware of that. All right, and the board farm will be delicious. This is, if you haven't used your free Mog Pass yet, this is the time. Knock every board out with Kuja. This is the best time to do it, so you don't have to worry about summon boards really ever again, besides the one-off character. Burn your 3x books, because you're not going to have much use for them once Divine Summons start. Just keep that in mind. I think that's all I had to highlight there. I'm getting Kuja's burst somehow. Somehow. So I'm pulling on all the banners in the cycle. So I'm going straight to gems for Kuja's LD, because I'm not going anywhere without that. That is not debatable. I'll be going into it as I talk about the rest of the fights, but I'm going to go after Gau and Gladio. If I don't get Kuja's burst while going after his LD or Gau's LD, then I'm going to go straight to burst pity on Gladio. And there we have it. All right, moving on. Gau's Lost Chapter. Ooh, buddy. Gau. Gau gets an LD that gets a new counter. It doesn't stack with his old counter, unfortunately. But it is a AoE attack and a party HP heal afterwards with some battery. So it really takes the best of both worlds on his other counters, and then adds even more incentive to not use the other ones. It also gives him a party Earth enchant, so he's now the first Earth enchanter in the game. Woo! This other counter is really good. He gets some other battery and nifty fun stuff. He's got a good future as well with his LD boards that give him, I think it's a party enemy attack down aura, something like that. Solid character. He works, so he is different from other counter characters in that he counters with them. So he counters, this is just the thing that Gau is unique. He counters when other people are hit, period. So actually, if you have a counter character that takes damage, like Gladio, for example, who he's synergy for, or just anything really, he stacks so perfectly with them because that's just double counters, which is so hilariously turn efficient. It's crazy. And the fact that he's throwing an enchant on top of it, oh yeah, that's where it's at. His Lufenia. Oh, and Selfie's getting boards here, so shout out to Kevs. Selfie runs. Selfie's coming back, baby. Well, she never left. Anyways, the counter for the Lufenia, the first wave, it's a DPS race. You just have to kill it, or else it's gonna wipe your buffs. Whoever's targeting, it's gonna smack them. Bosch can eat it, probably, but yeah, you're gonna get smacked if you don't kill that fast enough. The second and third waves have 2 and then 3 bosses, and their counters require either, I think it's, let me just pull up the page. Shout out to Rem. It increases by 2 when the target takes brave damage, and it increases by 1 after the player does a counter attack. So if you have a counter character, like 8, or Cater again, or Shadow, Galuf, you can manage, or you can go back and do it with Gladio after he's finished. Or you can just use Ishtola, I guess, or Twins EX. I think it's a skill too. That's Earth. Anyways, so there's a bit of a flexibility here. Or you can just DPS it down, which is another hilarious option. Kuja's good here. Obviously, he's synergy. Gau is obviously going to clap it because he's synergy. This does the orb. The orb does dispel your buffs, so just be aware of that. I'm very interested in Gau for a plethora of different reasons, and he's probably the one I'm most. I mean, I've used Kuja already, so I'm hyped for my favorite villain, obviously. But I'm very interested in Gau's kit specifically because one, he's a good boss rush character. That's very important. Keeping those turns low on boss rush. 2, he comes back with Onion Knight's LD, and that Medusa fight is very toxic, and he is a great character to use there, just for the attack down and the counters and the battery and all that, keeping you alive basically. Gau was stellar there, and it made me regret not having him a lot. Another case for Gau is that he's going to be good for Guy's Lufenia, which also requires earth damage, and Guy unfortunately did not age well, and I think Gau would have been a better investment for roster purposes, so I'd much rather pull on Gau than invest in Guy in the future. Just some other miscellaneous things that are coming to mind for Gau, but definitely a great investment. I think he's not going to get the recognition he deserves, which is sad, but I am going to do my part to show off probably why you should reconsider Gau. I'm definitely, and I'm going to run him a lot too, because I haven't run him ever, so I'm curious to see what I can get out of him. All right, let's see. Lastly, we have Gladio's Event. Gladio is a character. He is hype for all the right reasons. HP damage reduction to 0 when his LD counter is up. Party overflow auras, HP regen, battery. He does almost everything except he doesn't brave save too well, but I guess that's a consolation for all the other off-turn damage he does. He also has a defense down, an attack down, frame debuff, I think it is, when he counters. It's crazy. He's a broken character. I don't know what the developers were thinking. Sabin, I don't know how to say his name, and Vayne get character boards here. There's synergy. Remains to be determined who is the LD that's going to get the who's going to get the LD in the Lost Chapter and JP, because it's a bit staggered, but it is what it is. The Lufenia, oh boy, it's lock immune, and you have to eat the orb. So without any way to taunt it reliably, is it guaranteed hit too? I think the recast ability is guaranteed, but the count ability isn't. You have to eat the count ability. So whoever it's targeting there, you better hope they can live through it. You can get through it with triple last stand, which is pretty funny. But if you have Gladio and you have his LD up, he'll just eat the recast, and it's not guaranteed HP damage, so he'll just not take any damage and then just counter and laugh it off. That's what they wanted you to do there. There's other ways to get around it, obviously, like Warrior Light, bunch of different stuff. Bosch, I remember a triple last stand team I saw was it Aerith? I think it was Aerith, Arden, and Bosch. That's right. That runs out there somewhere, and that was pretty funny because the boss really just couldn't do anything because it couldn't kill them. So that's something to keep in mind. What else? Yeah, Gladio's just busted. There's nothing I can say that can convince people otherwise. He's not gonna be the key character in Lufenia, but you build around him to get a good team. That's how it works. I think I have a separate kind of talk thinking about this, but I think people are too focused on the characters for Lufenia difficulty and not the fights, and they're gonna think Gladio is the key when really he's the glue holding parties together. You still need to have a good roster to beat fights, but people will wake up to that realization next month when fights start really getting hard. I didn't talk about Gau's challenge, but I'm gonna use Kuja's selfie. Gau, I mean, that's obvious, whatever. For Gladio's Lufenia, I'm probably gonna use Gladio Yuna to extend his buffs, and Gau, probably. Bust out the Gau Gladio Wombo combo, and then Yuna to keep the counters up, just so I can use Yuna and Lufenia and flex that, because Yuna, favorite character, but she sucks. Challenge, I'm just gonna do Vayne, Gladio, Kuja, or probably Vayne, Gladio, Gau. I want to abuse that as much as I love Kuja. As for pulls, if I haven't gotten Kuja's burst by this point, I'm gonna go all the way to 125k if necessary, because gotta have Kuja, undebatable. Yeah. And I think I've gone through all the content. Closing thoughts. Welcome to Lufenia. Don't focus on characters. Focus on the fights and how to build for them, or else you're going to get blindsided. Lightning and Gladio won't carry you through the era. It's not like that. My pull plans are, I'm going to ticket Warrior Light LD. Hopefully going to get Syncs EX, but I won't chase it if I don't. Probably. Gonna go up. I'm not gonna say which resources I use after this because that's variable on how many I have. But Kurasame, probably tickets. Kuja, definitely gems actually. And I just lied. I said I wasn't gonna highlight my resources and started doing it anyways. Kurasame, Kuja gems, Gau, probably tickets, Gladio and gems. If I didn't get, actually probably, okay, yeah, I'm just a complete liar, aren't I? Kuja burst on Gladio if I don't already have it already. I'm most excited for Gau this month. Gau hype, all of that. He's gonna probably be my character I'm gonna represent for a couple months where I can, just because I haven't used him really at all. That'll be fun. I'm excited to see really how the global community does Lufenia, how they react differently using Foresight and different creative teams that probably didn't appear JP side. Just because they didn't appear on YouTube doesn't mean they didn't exist. But people don't understand anything. And that's it. I'm going to be probably splitting these chunks up and re-uploading them as the time goes on for the events that when they happen. So let's say I'm going to upload my Gau segment right when Gau is about to release, just for some more content out there, because I keep flooding YouTube and it's working apparently. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop a comment about your plans and what you think about mine, my perspective. And again, I'll be interacting with everything, so don't hesitate to ask questions. This has been Black Thought. I hope I helped y'all out, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.